All right. Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I'm Annetta Stroud, Associate Director for Content and Curriculum with ACRO. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, Crisis as Catalyst for Collaboration, How Cambridge International and Cambridge English are partnering to meet a global challenge. Just a couple of housekeeping items while everyone gets settled. We are using the Zoom webinar platform for today's webinar, so your mics and cameras are disabled by default. If you have any technical issues during the webinar, please use the chat function and select all panelists, and we will work with you directly to get it sorted. If at any time during the webinar you have questions for our panelists, please use the Q&A function. Please note that we will be holding questions until after the presentation. And I would like to go ahead and introduce our two panelists today. We have Dr. Adina Chapman, Regional Higher Education Manager for North America for Cambridge Assessment International Education. And we also have Pete Novak, Country Manager for US and Canada with Cambridge Assessment English. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Adina.
Thank you, Annetta, very much. And I appreciate this opportunity, Pete and I both do, to be able to go over some of the ways that we've embraced the change that's undertaken since the pandemic started in March of 2020. So I'm going to just give a broad overview. First of all, I want to talk about how Cambridge Assessment, which is a division of the University of Cambridge, has actually merged with another division called Cambridge University Press, which many of you are probably familiar with. We merged during the pandemic into one organization. And what does that mean for us? I'm going to help you explore the web pages for US colleges and universities that we launched last year during the pandemic to provide more succinct information that is tailored for US colleges and universities. And on that web page, there is also a sign up for online transcript services. And some of that is just bringing in previously existing CI Direct, but also to offer some new electronic transcript services. So I'll explain that to you. I'd like to give you a snapshot of our new US Admissions Toolkit. And least but not last, it's a very important partnership that Pete and I have between our two departments, Cambridge English and Cambridge International. We've been partnering with the Common App and the Coalition for College Application to get our exams, and in my case, our curriculum fully added to those particular applications for all students around the world. So we're going to talk about how we've been collaborating to get that entered so that more students can find us virtually. And so I'll start off talking about a new unified organization. And you'll probably see this in some of our trademarks, but we are now called Cambridge University Press and Assessment. We officially became a single organization this last August 2021. However, that's really started a year before discussions around merging. And it really makes a lot of sense to have us merge. So you'll be seeing more and more discussions between those two divisions. Well, previous divisions. We're now under Peter Phillips, who's Chancellor of the Cambridge University Press and Assessment, is our CEO. And Cambridge Assessment International Education, that I represent, are now a part of this larger organization, larger division. And so we will continue to be recognized as Cambridge Assessment International Education. So if you're concerned about how we're represented on our transcripts and how we're labeled, I just want to reassure you it's still going to be Cambridge Assessment International Education is our long name, but Cambridge International is our shorter name. And we still have the same university logo. So being a part of this new organization, which is merged of several different departments and divisions, enables us to serve customers better and offer a wider range of services. Here's just an org chart, generally speaking, and you can see over here on the left is where we sit. It's Cambridge Assessment International Education, and then Pete is going to talk about Cambridge Assessment English, which is just right there above us to the right. And there are some of the other departments that also sit underneath Cambridge University Press and Assessment with us. So a quick snapshot, like I said, we did preview this last fall initially, but it is a US website. So now, in addition to going to cambridgeinternational.org, you can do a /, type in USA /, and you will find specific information for the US. And I think that's important because we're working to translate some of that British speak it more and more Americanize it for US colleges and universities, because we do have a greater presence in the US now. We have over 500 schools, high schools predominantly, 93% are public in the US that offer Cambridge International, and those students are wanting predominantly to stay in the US, as well as all the international students in 170 countries, where the US is the #1 destination country. So we felt like it's really important that we provide one place for US higher education to go and get the resources they need. What I'm going to go over today on the higher ed side here, you'll see the guide to exam results link and receiving exam results. And then there's some tools on how to write your policy. And there's a web link below. So if we drill down a little bit farther, you'll see Yolanda Copeland Morgan is one of our board members from UCLA. And we have videos of all of our board members that sit on our current board. And she is, so we've got some video clips out there if you'd like to know more about Cambridge. They're right there and available. There's a guide to Cambridge courses and exams. You can see the link on the left. There's receiving Cambridge International exam grades. Like I said, I'm going to go over that in detail with you. Create a policy, where we are as far as US state policies. In the 5 years I've been here, we started with 350 recognition statements in the United States for Cambridge International A and AS levels. We now have almost 1,000. So we've, more than tripled the number of statements thanks to the great work on your campuses. And we are currently have system and state policies in 11 states. We're building our team, and we also have now 5 either full-time or part-time people working on recognition in the US and Canada. So here is our new online application form. I'm going to quickly go through these, but so that you know, and Annetta will send out this PowerPoint presentation. You have exactly steps through how to sign up if you're not already signed up for Cambridge International Direct, which we're calling CI Direct. Here is a new online form just to expedite that. And our newest feature is the new online US electronic results transfer. There's to send you electronic results. So there's 2 different questions here. I recommend that you answer both of those with a yes, because one of them is, the first one is for international students. Do you wish to receive the results electronically for international students? It's the reason why the questions are separate is because it's 2 different processes. So for US universities, we've set up the new transcripts are being sent electronically because we have a new feature which allows US students to go online and send their grades electronically now from our US high schools. They can send it for free at the moment to US colleges and universities. During the pandemic, I love to tell this story. I got a call in 2020 in April from our operations director in Cambridge. And he said, Adina, I can't print any hard copies of transcripts. And he said, I don't know what we're going to do. We aren't allowed to go into DC 10 because of COVID. And I said, Doug, do you remember that there's a pilot in Florida of 5 universities receiving electronic results? And he goes, oh yeah. And I said, I think it's time you expand that at least across the US. And so that's what we've done in the last 1.5 years. And this is how you sign up for it. So our initial login, when you get a login account, here's just a few screenshots I want to show you, is, once you get an initial account, you'll get your, you'll be emailed your ID and password, and you can sign up for that. And then when you go in with the information to verify students' online results, this is what the screen looks like, where you can actually, you'll need their center number they need to provide that to you with their candidate number. They can either send you a copy of their provisional results, but you would need this type of information to do the search. Once you enter that information, I'll show you an example in a minute of what the results look like. And the other thing is, when you sign up, you have to accept the terms and conditions. And they're always available at a link at the bottom of the screen, just so you know. Then when you go into CIE Direct, you would go to candidate results, and the welcome screen is there, of course, to giving you what information you would need to navigate through this. And you would stick in the actual, like I said, the center number, the candidate number. And this is an example of what the results would look like. So once you have the center number, the candidate number, we've marked out the name and the date of birth, but the center number in the US is typically the school, because that's where they would have sat for the exam. And here's the name of the school. You can see the English School of Australia. It's also very common around the world. It's not always the school, but it typically is. And then you've got the country, and you have the series of exam, which is typically either going to be June or November. But in the Southern Hemisphere, we do have a March series. So sometimes you will see a March come in, depending on where if your student's international. You'll see the name of the qualification. So we've got A and AS levels and the subject, and then the syllabus option. And that's important if you're going to send this out to faculty members to make a decision on credit. You'll want to double check your syllabus number, and you can go and pull off of our website. All of our curriculum is provided out there, and send that to the faculty members. Also, if you want to contact me, I can send you a faculty toolkit in which I've already prepackaged everything and Americanized it for faculty so that they can review that curriculum, make a credit determination, and place the student appropriately at your institution. Then we have on the right the results, and you can see here, this particular student got an A with distinction, which is an A star. It is the highest level in the world for grading. And then they got that in French. If you come down to the student below, you'll see it's A and AS levels, but they got a result of E. And in the US, an E seems foreign, but it's actually a passing score. So an E is equivalent to a US grade of C, according to Fulbright, WES. Even ACRO's got some articles out in which this translation of grading has been endorsed, as well as IERF and other credential evaluating agencies. So if you had multiple candidates, there is a way for you to enter multiple candidates and get their results all compiled in an Excel document. So this is a CSV file, and then you can import it into your data files as appropriate. And this is just more information on how to search. You can search up to 20 results in the regular search, but if you wanted to go into multiple candidates, it's 1,200. So I'm just gonna show the little arrows, and like I said, Annetta will send this out, and you can use it as needed. So I want to point out that there is a user guide for Cambridge International Direct that was developed during the pandemic that walks you also through all these steps. There's a video online as well. So there's several resources. So if you already have a Cambridge International Direct account, please email us and indicate that you want to sign up for the electronic transcript service. You don't need to go set up a new account if you already have an existing one. And this just goes into a generic email that my colleagues and I will make sure that we get your emails and we send them on to get you signed up, your university signed up for electronic transcript service. You're allowed up to 6 free accounts with CI Direct. If you don't have a CI Direct account, then that's where you would go through the process I just took you through in order to get the electronic, as well as for both international students and domestic students. So briefly, I want to show you a snapshot. One of the things we're excited about is we were able to hire an expert in US and international admissions, Jimmy Bishop, during the pandemic. So this last March he started, and I had this vision of creating a US admissions toolkit that would Americanize the Cambridge qualifications for US admissions officers. Typically international admissions officers are very familiar with our qualifications, but as we grow in the US with over 500 schools, I think it's really important that we provide more resources to domestic admissions officers. And that's what this is. So it's really focused on US domestic admissions, explaining the A and the AS levels in the grading that I just was talking to you about, why it goes down to an E and how an E is equivalent to a C. We also want to, this is really to establish a stronger presence around Cambridge within admissions office. And hopefully it will also provide you with potential recruitment opportunities at your university. And we are providing at request, we are now providing lists of our schools in the US so that you can contact those schools for recruitment purposes directly. Just a little peek at what you'll find inside the toolkit. And this toolkit has been provided, it's been printed, but we're in the process of also having it added to the website. So you'll start to see it on the website here shortly in the new year. And these are the different areas that it's covering. Here's a snapshot of what it looks like in print. And you see the grading scale here over to the right, an explanation of that. And quick reference guide, if you just want to tape something up in your cubicle that has the grading chart so that you can quickly look at it for A and AS levels, understanding that the AS level is lowercase grading and the A level is uppercase. You'll notice here that there's a QR code at the bottom of these pages. And that is what is going to link you back to the website where more information, more in-depth information will be provided and updated regularly as we expand. So look for in the new year our digital format. We're also planning to have this on an app on your phone. So if you're traveling, as many admissions officers do, and you quickly need a reference point for Cambridge A and AS levels and the grading scale, you can just pull it up on the app on your iPhone. And last but not least, over the last year and a half of the pandemic, my colleague Pete Novak and I have been working with the Common App and the Coalition for College Application on getting Cambridge in my case, we wanted to get our curriculum added as well as our exams. Some of it was mentioned previously in the Common App and the Coalition for College App, but not all of our courses and exams were listed. And so we've been working with them and we will continue to work with them. So I'll just give you a little update. On the Common App, all Cambridge International A and AS levels have now been included, both on the curriculum side and on the testing side for domestic sections of the Common App. We're still working with them, trying to get them to update the international more so. And then on the Coalition for Colleges, it's actually, we're well represented on the international side. And as you can see here, we've been included, the A levels have been included in the testing section, but not the AS or the IGSE. I'm working with them to help them understand why it's important that the AS and IGSE for admissions officers, it's important that they see those tests and those programs all listed. But we did get all of those listed on the coursework side. So it's just the testing side where they haven't added the A and AS level. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to my colleague, Pete, who can talk about his work with the Common App and the coalition going forward.
Okay, thank you, Adina. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be with you today. I'm based out of New York, and as Annetta mentioned, I'm the country manager for Cambridge Assessment English, covering US and Canada. And in the next 15 or so minutes, I would like to briefly introduce Cambridge English Qualifications and mention a couple of the initiatives that we have launched and expanded during the pandemic that are, I believe, certainly relevant for institutions in North America. Now, in terms of the two initiatives, I will touch on security and verification. So we have launched a results verification service. I will share some of the details for it, and also highlight some of the marketing related initiatives that are specifically designed to support institutions in North America and raise awareness of institutions here to students around the world. So with that, let me very briefly introduce Cambridge English Qualifications. We produce Ielts as a joint venture with British Council and IDP, and we also produce Cambridge English Qualifications and a whole host of other exams and tests. And so this will focus on Cambridge English Qualifications, which are very popular in multiple regions in the world. So there are students at over 50,000 schools that are learning English and are preparing for these exams. These can be elementary schools, high schools, colleges, universities, language schools. And the exams run around the world in well over 100 countries at thousands of locations. And so as a community of English language learners, there are millions of students with these certifications already out there. And in terms of institutions welcoming them, there are well over 12,000 institutions around the world that welcome students with Cambridge English Qualifications. But a little bit more about the Cambridge English Qualifications, because they have a unique purpose, and that drives the types of initiatives and ways to engage with these students. So on this chart, you will see two of our English proficiency exam sets that we produce in Cambridge. On the right, you will see Ielts, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. That is a wonderful, popular, multi-level test. And multi-level is just the format. It's a single exam that covers proficiency on any topic on a wide range. And so Ielts is a typical example of that format of examinations. And in general, almost all the exams in North America are multi-level tests. They are also more on demand as part of the application flow. So students look at the menu, they choose which exam makes sense for them based on a variety of criteria. They take the exam and send in the scores, right? On the left are the Cambridge English Qualifications, and that's B2 first, C1 advanced, C2 proficiency, which are the three university level and relevant exams. And they look different because they have a different purpose. They are specifically designed to validate learning outcomes of English courses. So they're more akin to examination certifications at the end of, let's say, high school, A-levels and so forth, right? Than a typical exam that you have to take on demand as part of the application to a university. So these exams are, this is a set that contains 3 independent exams. They're slightly overlapping in terms of proficiency, and they test for different levels of proficiency. So they are very focused exams that test for a specific level of the Common European Framework. The Common European Framework, which is on the left, A1 through C2, is the Global Language Proficiency Framework. It's a community standard that basically all the English proficiency exams align to and now report to. However, the Cambridge English Qualifications are specifically designed to test for each and any specific given level instead of a wide range of proficiency ranges. And that drives a significant difference in terms of use case, because again, these are tied to generally courses. And so you have a cohort and an ecosystem of English language learners. So Cambridge English Qualifications were launched well over 100 years ago, in 1913, and they are the longest, most rigorous English proficiency exams out there, depending on which one, because they become longer and longer as you move up the proficiency scale. They run at around 4 hours. Okay? And they are part of federal frameworks in many countries because the country or the region or the organization has adopted this global Common European Framework standard. And so these exams provide certifications for that global standard. And as such, these exams are designed to support learning, well, not just to validate what their level is, but it's to support learning because it validates the learning. And so they could be used as a pass-fail, or they could be used as an informative result, or they could be used as, you know, your level of English is not good enough to proceed, you have to repeat a year. It just depends on institution, country, how it's used. It's just a set of tools. And again, to highlight that because of the use case, there's a very large global ecosystem of English language learners who are on the path towards these exams. So they're learning English for, in many cases, years, right? And at the end, or along the way, there are certifications at each level. Okay. In terms of institutions welcoming students with Cambridge English Qualifications, as I mentioned, there are over 12,000 globally. And just to give a few examples in the US, here's just a brief list, but that very rapidly growing list covers coast to coast, public, private, research institutions, liberal arts colleges, 2 years, 4 years. They're welcome at a very long list of institutions, and basically at 100% of colleges and universities in UK, in Ireland, in Australia, New Zealand, and so forth, and very close to 100% in Canada as well. So wanted to that's just the context of in the English language testing landscape. These exams have a unique purpose, and so it's a audience and it's a ecosystem of learners. We have launched 2 initiatives in the last year, 2 years, and actually weeks. The first one is around results verification, because especially in the pandemic era, ensuring that the results and the scores are verified is paramount. Right? So we have launched a results verification service for Cambridge English Qualifications, which is a separate system from an Ielts verification and is a separate system from the Cambridge International verification process. So just to be clear, these are 3 separate platforms. For Cambridge English Qualifications, the process is relatively simple. The student, the applicant, receives a physical certificate that has a unique code. That code provides a login for their account, for their Cambridge account. That includes their test day information, and they cannot modify the content of that information. Based on GDPR, they control who has access to that information, so they can designate institutions that are able to view those scores. On the other hand, organizations also have a verified account, without which students can't send the scores. So institutions request a verified account, students have a verified account, and the end result is a system that is convenient and simple and so forth. Let's go through some of the features. So it is secure end to end, right? So both accounts are secure. The content cannot be changed, right? There is no functionality to input content there. It is also immediate. It's a web-based system. Scores are shared immediately, and it's also free. That might be obvious in some cases, but there was never a limit in terms of who you can share it with, and there's never been a cost. So it's always free, unlimited numbers of shares. And it's also accessible, so it's a web-based system. Looking at some of the details a little bit further, and I'm not going to show screenshots here, but the links will be shared. So in terms of high-level features, the scores can be verified for both individuals and groups. The results can be downloaded as individual results, as CSV files, and plug into all sorts of systems. You can also create customizable templates. We have also added in email alerts so that the system alerts you if someone has pushed a score to you, right? And that also helps you save time. We have also built an API functionality to plug into your system. And very excited to share that we are in Slate. The API connection is in the works, and that should be running relatively soon. So that's a very important development. And in terms of numbers of users and permissions, you can assign as many as you need. You can have multiple accounts. We are flexible to make it work for your institution. Right? Here's an example of a result page. This is the visual version. Obviously in Excel, you don't get this level of detail. So you get a test day photo where it exists, details of the person, the exam they took, and then the overall score and the sub-scores as well. All right. So you can decide and act on cut score requirements, not just at the overall level, but also on the granular level in case you want to differentiate between the various skills. Since we produce both Ielts and Cambridge English Qualifications, there's an official equivalency between the two. Cambridge English Qualifications report, all three of those exams report on the Cambridge English scale, which is a very granular scale. It's our most granular scale. That goes between 80 and 230. And there's an official equivalency to the Ielts band scores as well. So folks often ask us about what scores should we set? What does this mean? How do they compare? These are all on our website and the publications, and will be shared in the PDF for this presentation as well. In terms of registering, it takes about 30 seconds. So it's just going to cambridgeenglish.org/verifiers, clicking on register, and this is the screen that comes up. It's just entering, in essence, the institution details. Because we verify institutions as well, it's not an instant account creation. It is manually verified. And so within a few days, you will get the credentials to be able to log in at the same web address and then set up users and other details as well. So again, it's free, it's instant, and this is the only way for students to send you verified scores securely. We have seen during the pandemic so many photoshopped certificates of any and all sorts, because if it's a paper that folks need to send over, a digital version of it, some will try to doctor it. This system is designed to provide a secure, instant, convenient process for everyone. So we ask all institutions that recognize Cambridge English to sign up and create this account. Again, without this account, students cannot send scores and either send scores to you or for you to be able to verify the scores. In terms of the steps, the very first step is to ensure that students are welcome with these, right? So there's a requirement to officially recognize these exams first. They should be published on the website, although that can be in process. And then the verification account can be authorized. If you have any questions, my email is right here. Feel free to reach out. We will cover the chat topics in a couple of minutes, but I'm sharing the email address here. And so this is the results verification service. And wanted to share a second initiative, which includes several sub-items. It's mostly around marketing support. And the reason is we looked at our assets and our reach, and it's quite significant in terms of followers. So it ranges from 100,000 to 7 million for Cambridge English, depending on social media platform. And the website certainly receives tens of millions of views a year. So we wanted to see how can we harness that and make the most of it to support both students and institutions, specifically in North America. So in the last year or so, we have launched a live Zoom webinar series for learners. It's to connect students with institutions. And the format is approximately an hour-long live webinar that we post afterwards on YouTube. The topics generally cover either high-level topics within admissions or something around the geographic variables or types of institutions. It's not about the presenting institutions themselves. It's to provide information for the students, because international students are certainly quite overwhelmed with the options, especially when their counselors might have not been available, when there's suddenly a plethora of options for them and so many different pathways to take. We are trying to provide information around all the options that are available for students to come to North America. A second initiative is actually in launch. That's why I don't have a screenshot of it. We will be posting videos created by institutions about the institutions themselves. So they're short videos providing an overview of the institutions that provide these videos. And we will be posting them in the upcoming weeks. All of these are, by the way, these are no-cost initiatives. This is for us to support the community, to connect students, and to support higher education institutions. And lastly, in terms of social media and web posts, we have expanded the numbers and the number of posts during the pandemic to, again, maximize raising awareness about institutions in North America. So these are the two main initiatives that we have been focusing on in North America. As Adina mentioned, Common App and Coalition App are very important, and we are working with them continually to make sure that that these exams are listed in there for students and applicants' convenience. And with that, I think we will open it up to questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Pete and Adina. Oh my gosh, you guys have been really, really busy since we last saw you. And I am really, really excited for all of the verification tools, quite frankly. We have seen so many different types of interesting documents come across our admission desks, and having this portal to verify these examination results is absolutely so very, very important for us as institutions as well. So well done, you guys. Definitely a lot of great work. We do have a couple of questions. Adina did answer one, but the first one that hasn't been answered to Pete and or Adina. So the Cambridge results don't expire like Ielts. Is that correct? And should you accept the results no matter how long they took the exam? Is that right? Or should we be thinking of it in some other perspective?
That is a great question. So Cambridge English Qualifications don't have an expiration from our perspective. Other exams that we produce do. Now, the fact that it doesn't have an expiration does not mean that we are suggesting if someone presents, let's say, a 20-year-old certificate, that their level of English is still the same. What we're suggesting with that is that they have been extremely thoroughly certified because they're English learners. They have been learning English for generally many, many years, right? And have gone through a rigorous 4-hour certification process. It provides the flexibility to consider anything beyond the standard 2 years in North America, right? So there are institutions that accept without expiration. So I would bring up University of California, the entire system for exchange programs. There's no expiration. Other institutions might put a few years on, others might accept a 2-year expiration. It provides the flexibility to, even by exam, differentiate, or by purpose. So whether it's an exchange program, whether it's graduate program, whether it's undergrad, there are so many different variables. It provides a flexibility to go beyond 2 years.
That's excellent. And so, yeah, go ahead, Adina.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just going to say, likewise, the Cambridge International exams do not expire either. And our CI Direct database only goes back a little over a decade. So if anyone is looking for older exam results, please do contact us. And we will make sure that we get that request put into Cambridge. And I've had it done before and they produce them pretty quickly. So they'll get you a certified statement.
Excellent. So that is all really good information to know. So I guess that, of course, the results via Cambridge do not expire. However, we do have different institutional policies depending on your institution. And so that is going to be something that you would want to look at internally. And definitely, if there is any question, look to your peer institutions. What are your peer institutions doing when we're talking about possibly having someone sit another examination? And this is also really great that Pete was mentioning flexibility. It does provide another tool to leverage for thinking about flexible admissions practices and really holistic and equitable admissions practices as well. So taking in other considerations in addition to the test score that may seem to you to be in having a longer duration than the 2 years like we're used to seeing with other external examination results. All right, and then the other comment question that we had, which I think is really exciting, and though even Adina did answer it in the Q&A, if you guys could just speak a little bit more because it is really exciting. So does Cambridge International integrate with Slate like Cambridge English is doing? Because this is really, really going to be fun.
Definitely. And Annette, what's great about the collaboration that we've had even greater since the crisis is, like I said, it was the impetus for Cambridge to say, oh, we have to do electronic transcripts. So the pressure I have on them right now is, yes, we're doing electronic transcripts, but we need an API and we need it integrated with Slate. So we made some great connections at NACAC in September in Seattle with Slate. And we have that on our, agenda over the next 2 years to work with Slate. And Pete is just awesome at all the technology stuff. So hopefully all his expertise will help us and vice versa. So we're really just trying to serve the institutions because our member institutions are saying that they want this. So I'm really happy to see that question because I wrote it down and I can take it back as more evidence for why we need to do this. Thank you.
As Adina mentioned, as part of the closer collaboration throughout the pandemic and ongoing, of course, not just with the merger, but the closer collaboration within the groups within assessment, we will be bringing together our resources and efforts to streamline and simplify processes for everyone possible, all stakeholders.
Well, again, really great work that you guys have been able to do, over the past pandemic years. However, we're counting time as it is right now. But thank you both so much for being here with us today and for giving us an update on every everything and all the awesome work that you guys have been doing, and also what we should be looking for in the future. It looks like we do have a hand raised. Charisse, would you like to, I'll go ahead and allow you to talk if you would like to pose your question. Charisse, do you have a question?
No, I think I missed and press it.
No worries, it happens all the time. Adina and Pete, thank you guys so much. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with before we go off?
Just thank you for this wonderful opportunity to serve you and your institutions. And as there are more things that would be helpful to both in understanding and translating into American speak for the colleges and universities, registrars, admissions officers, please let us know. If there's other technologies like Slate and so forth, APIs that you need, then it helps us build our case back on the home front in Great Britain. So thank you.
Absolutely. And just to highlight that we are here in North America, we are committed. We are physically here. And we want to make sure that, again, all the processes, all the systems are as convenient as possible.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys again. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing everyone again at another ACRO event. Have a wonderful holiday season, everyone, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.